Hello everyone, welcome to Kuch the Talk Show. And today we have got Roshan Gandhi. He's a director of strategy from City Montessori School. So before going ahead, let me just tell you about the City Montessori School, the world's largest chain of a school, the CMS, 7,000 plus students, if I'm not wrong. So Roshan, welcome to the show, Kuch the Kaho.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Thank you for having me.
So Roshan, actually, as you know that today we have got the topic, and this was the topic that is created by students and the teacher. I have got so many friends actually. They are teaching, and a lot of students actually. They are in the part of the e-schooling. So the topic is impact of digital learning and beyond. So our first question actually, since you are responsible for making a strategy, so what is new next and better? What is the new normal in today's digital learning from your end?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think everyone's been trying to talk and speculate about the new normal caused by this pandemic situation. And I think the truth is that no one can actually predict the way that things are going to go. I think we've seen some new trends. And I think the pandemic and doing learning online has definitely revealed some new things to educators. I think trying to teach online teachers quickly realized that it's not possible to mirror exactly what the school timetable is doing online. So if there are 8 periods in a day on a school timetable for 6.5 hours or something like that, it's not very easy to do the same thing for such a long time on Zoom calls or online. So that means that there's less time being spent in live teacher and student classes. And so the teacher is giving the student more work to do outside of the class. So the student is now learning outside of the class. Whereas before, they used to do homework, but homework was more about practicing whatever they learned in the class. Now, instead of only practicing in the homework is actually for learning. So they're doing research projects, watching videos, using online learning content. And so that's a new way of learning, which has been quite useful for students.
Okay, but here in the biggest channel actually, one of our student actually, one of the actual parent, he was asking what is the health issue, right? Earlier we used to have physical training period also, but what about today? Since morning till late night, the student is in front of the computer, in front of the mobile. So what are the sports? So do you have any strategy for CMS and for the students apart from online learning, health issues?
Definitely, it's extremely important that
Yes.
students remain physically active. It's so important for their health and well-being. And so we've actually, at CMS, we've been doing that. So we've been offering PE lessons online. So PE teachers, dance teachers, they're taking lessons through the screen, and then each student in their own home, they're doing yoga activities or other physical activities or
Okay.
dance activities,
And
keeping active that way.
there is something that is ergonomics, like how many the distance within computer, the level of the screen, so that we can protect our eyes. So is there any kind of training, CMS is providing over the internet, that students should use mobile from this distance, laptop from this distance, the kind of brightness, anything like that, ergonomics?
See, we would like to do that, but we also have to think of the reality of the children. They're all using different devices, different quality of device. Their home situation is different. Their seating arrangement is different. So trying to give concrete advice like that is hard. Instead, what we are doing is ensuring that students are not spending too long in front of the screen. We're limiting the screen time. So instead of having a 6 hour class day in 6 hours of Zoom classes, rather we are having less time. We're factoring in regular breaks. Students should spend some time away from the screen. So that's how we look after their health.
Okay, fine. And obviously, biggest challenge actually, it's all about relationship. Once in a class, teacher and the student relationship. They get emotional. They that kind of touch actually. But how to create. This is a digital era actually, where we are interacting over the screens, right? So what was the emotion actually that students and teacher they share together earlier?
Yeah, that's a really important question because that's such an important part of the education process in the classroom. And I think, teachers are able to make that connect through the screen, but also they're using new strategies to do that. So before the pandemic, inside the physical classroom, teachers would immediately start their class rushing into the topic and getting through the syllabus. Whereas now we try to encourage teachers that they should take 5 minutes in the beginning of the class just to talk with the students informally, ask them how is their day going, how are they feeling, what did you have for breakfast, some very simple thing.
Okay.
to maintain that human connect.
Okay, so this was the teacher and student connect. And what about the student and student? Because when the student is in the classroom, I mean, he was sharing the tiffin. But here, people are having, I mean, they are doing something interaction. I mean, how they interact actually, our friends.
You're right, and it's difficult, but we are doing that. So, for example, students are doing project-based learning. They're going and doing research projects and things, and so some of that is done in groups. So, online students will collaborate and do a group project in groups of 3 or 4 students who are close to one another. Maybe they'll present their project to each other, and so that way they maintain that connect. Also, we've been ensuring that other activities are going on. So, we're having events online where students are participating in competitions and something like that online, and also, of course, the activity classes, the yoga classes, the dance classes online. So that maintains the connect between students.
Okay, in today's newspaper, I've got one brochure actually. It was written like we used to promote the school, right? New school in the town, new school, in our area. But today I've got one brochure where it's written e-school. E-school. So this is a very, I mean, obvious question and by default question, right? Here we are going to start the school e-schools and like CMS, and there are a number of physical schools. So do you see the competition, or how you are? I mean, how these kind of school actually they are running physically, and now school are coming on portal actually on digital platform. So is there any competition? I mean, how you are going to cope up? I mean, you in the sense these kind of schools.
I mean, we don't see it as competition. You know, the education sector is so huge. We don't think of ourselves in competition. We're very happy if anyone is innovating and coming up with new ways of doing things online. I think actually, all of this online teaching, we're doing it because it's necessary right now, but it's a substitute. It's not a permanent solution. I don't think it's some new normal that all schooling will go online, because there is still a lot that is missing in the physical classroom. We still miss that human interaction, that connect, the activities that can be done physically, big group meetings, events, all of that is missing. And that's such an important part of a child's development from the young age. So I don't think that e-schools are a permanent solution. They're a temporary solution during this pandemic situation only.
Okay, sure. So this for our audience actually. There are so many people. They have been seeing the show, and they have given us so many questions. So of course, Roshan is saying this is a new normal. Everything will be normalized in a old way. And to be very honest, actually, somewhere we have got opportunity wherein at the stage of first standard student, right? Till 12, and I'm not saying about beyond the 12 actually, but these students, they are being familiar with the technology at this age. So Roshan, this is time for audience question actually. There are a number of questions given by some teachers, students, and writers actually. So first I'll go with one of the questions that was given by uh, one of the school teachers. She's from very prominent school, and she's asking actually uh, about the new education policy. She's saying that can we look forward to new education policy 2020 to enhance the impact of digital learning? I mean, he wants to say that going to compete. Here is he's saying that okay, is there any kind of hamper? I mean, is there any kind of wrong thing that is going by the digitalization in the education?
Any wrong thing going in the digitalization in education?
I'm just reframing her question actually. Can we look forward to new education policy 2020 to enhance the impact of digital learning? And next,
Mhm.
he's saying, I mean, is it going to complement or hamper role of digitalization in education?
Okay, that's an interesting question. I think actually the NEP is very progressive in its approach to pedagogy, and it acknowledges that that technology is an important part of modern education, and that technology keeps on changing and improving. I think that there is one problem in the new education policy with regard to technology. That's in section 23. So they talk about the use of technology in education, and they proposed the creation of a body called NEAT, the National Education Alliance for Technology, which would be a government committee that will kind of review different education technologies and then suggest to state governments and to schools, government schools, whether that technology should be used. And I think that's quite a misguided approach to create some kind of government committee. Rather, it's impossible for any committee to really make these decisions effectively and objectively review so many technologies. It would be much better to leave things in a free kind of market up to the schools to decide which technologies to adopt, and indeed to parents to decide which technologies they want to pay for. So I think that's a slightly misguided approach to technological implementation in schools. But apart from that, otherwise, the NEP is pro technology, it's pro innovation. It wants schools to keep innovating and coming up with new ways to deliver education. It recognizes the importance of digital education and also factors in digital learning into the curriculum, through making sure that students learn about coding and AI from a young age. So I think on the whole, it's definitely a positive thing for technology in
Okay,
education.
okay, great. And we as an Indian actually, this is a democratic country wherein we know that we cannot leave the rural area actually. So this is why I mean this is always question that even people are asking. The real crisis is the lack of faith in the government school system. Are we putting good money in a wrong place? I mean, somewhere, I'm just adding one more question on this question actually. What about the government school in private sector? I mean, we can afford, I mean, the upper middle class family, they can afford. But about the school, even they don't have money to, send their kids in the school. So how they can afford that digital assets like these kind of laptop and mobile?
This is a very important question for sure. And the government schools, as the person who asked the question rightly identified, there's a lot of problems going on there. The learning outcomes across government schools as a whole are fairly poor. But the real tragedy is that not only are the learning outcomes poor, but the expenditure per pupil in government schools is extremely high. So if you take a government school and a budget private school in the same area, getting similar learning outcomes, the private school might be charging only a few hundred rupees per student per month, while the government school is spending several thousand rupees per student per month. So the inefficiency in the government school is very high. And actually, if they were to improve their standards, they will find that they do have the money and the resources to spend on technology in the government schools, but those resources are not being utilized properly. And I think one thing that is missing from the NEP is any talk of accountability of teachers and schools, which has been a big problem in the education sector. Because in government schools, we find that on average in India, 25% of teachers are absent, and in some states, up to almost 50% of teachers are absent. And that is because they are not accountable for coming to the school and for delivering lessons. They're not paid on the basis of the learning outcomes that are happening in the school. So that was a big problem that the NEP should have addressed, and I think that's missing. And if that were happening, then schools would be able to run more efficiently, and therefore they would have the resources to spend on technology.
Okay, right. I mean, your comparison I can understand. In fact, I accept it. But one more thing actually, there is a due to RTI, Right to Education Act. I know that City Montessori School, they have got 25% seat for for these kind of underprivileged. I mean, some students, right, who cannot afford the on same cost which other students are affording. So today, I mean, CMS is running online classes. So do you have any, you know, any special thing for these students who comes under RTE Act?
I mean, we always make an effort that when our students are allocated to CMS under the RTE Act, they should integrate with the normal school. We don't put them in a separate category or separate them like that. We don't try to discriminate or give any separate service with them. We want them to be part of the same education system. And CMS has, even before the RTE Act, CMS has always prided itself upon giving access to education for the underprivileged. So we've given generous fee concessions to a large number of students. All of the children who are support staff study for free in CMS. And so we've always had, a situation where we can have an IAS officer's son and a rickshaw puller's daughter in the same class learning together. And that's really, I think, a good thing for education. So it's the same thing for our RTE children, whoever is allocated under the RTE Act in CMS. We integrate them into the normal classes. So we don't have any separate class for them.
Oh, that's great. That is great philosophy. I mean, this should be there actually. Students should feel safe. So this is the last question by one of the writer. Actually, he's our audience. His name is Durgesh. He's asking, though you have already answered this question, but I'm just framing his question. The use of e-schooling classes is harmful if they last long. Obviously, you have given the answer, but one sentence for this question actually.
I think, look, the big thing is to make sure that the well-being of children is at the forefront of teachers' mind at the moment. I think it should always be, but particularly now because this situation makes everyone feel so anxious, uncertain. People are having trouble in homes. They're feeling isolated, lonely. So I think the well-being of students is more important than ever. And that should be at the forefront of teachers' minds when they're teaching classes. And that means looking after their health by not having classes that are too long, by ensuring that there are opportunities for students to interact in and out of the class, by factoring in regular breaks, and by having basic interactions on a human level, not trying to just push them to work too hard. So keep the well-being at the front of children of the teacher's mind. I think that's the most important thing right now.
Okay, and the last question, Roshan, actually, see, when we know that we have got any venture, so directly and indirectly, there are a number of people actually they are associated with it, with our venture, right? Like teacher, student, they are the direct connection of the school. But what about those peon, canteen, guards? There are so many indirect resources actually. They are the part of life of students. So how CMS is taking care of those resources in
Yeah,
lockdown?
they're an important part of the school community, and those who are allowed to work or who come into the category where they need to work have been doing so. Guards have been working throughout because they are authorized during the lockdown period also to guard the buildings. So they've been doing a great service, really, and all of these people have been doing a really great service. During the lockdown, the drivers of CMS assisted the government in going and helping pick up the migrant laborers using the buses of CMS. So they were working that way also. So they've been working very hard, and we continue to support them accordingly.
Okay, that's Roshan. It was really nice talking to you. And one message actually, I mean, if you talk about the CMS student, there are 50,000 plus students, they are watching you. Apart from that, we have got crores of young students, they are watching you, they are watching Roshan Gandhi. So Roshan, one message, I mean, the student, they are studying in front of the screen, they are talking with teacher online. So any message, I mean, today, this is the irony that we are having this situation, COVID-19. So Roshan, as a leader, as a thought leader, as a strategist, one message for our students, for young crowds.
My main message to students right now is look after your health, look after your mental health, and don't spend too much time in front of the screen. Okay, you're already having to spend time in front of the screen for classes, so outside of classes try to avoid extra screen time beyond that. And if you keep your health and well-being first, then only you will be able to perform well in your studies. If you're in bad health, if you're not feeling well, then you won't be able to perform well in your studies.
And what about teachers actually? One of my friend actually, she teaches. So she's saying that students, in fact, if I say that in one sentence actually, to be very honest, she has written, शिक्षा के इस महायज्ञ में मेरी आहुति. I mean, शिक्षा के, हिंदी, शिक्षा के इस महायज्ञ में मेरी आहुति. तो उसने 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 बोला कि she was telling actually, so we have done so many for students, but sometimes they irritate us. So one message for the teachers
The
online.
main message to the teachers across the country, and I want to thank the CMS teachers particularly, is just a big thank you, because really the amount of work that they've had to put into this is huge. They really have to work extra hard at this time. Maybe people think that teachers are working less hard than normal, but that's not true. Actually, teachers are working more hard than normal because they have to plan their lessons in a different way.
Yes, yes.
They have to handle all of these technical issues. It's exhausting being in front of a screen all day long. And so it really, and the classes have to be spread out over a longer time because they don't want to keep all the classes together without any break and all of that. So basically, the teachers are really working extra hard. And I think that's because they really, they feel that they care about their students and they want to put in that effort to help the students and keep the learning going. So really, it's just a matter of great thanks to the very hardworking teachers for all of their service.
True, true. So thank you so much, Roshan. It was really nice talking to you, and I hope that our audience, they must be having so many questions. So definitely, we are going to get the questions in the comment section. So Roshan, definitely, we are going to disturb you. We are going to send you all the questions. I know that you are not on social media, so definitely we'll send you one to one all the questions, and we expect the reply. And definitely, we'll pass those answers to our audience. So Roshan, thank you so much coming on Kuch Kaho, the talk show. So thank you everyone for watching Kuch Kaho talk show. And this was the last episode of season 2, episode 12. So see you all in next season, season 3, with more happening and more learning interviews. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you very
Roshan.
much, Ashish. Thank you.